The new year has already brought about some juicy stuff, by which we mean a daisy chain of hostile political attacks. Today, Ted Cruz got the negative ad treatment in Iowa, courtesy of undercard standby Rick Santorum.
I like green eggs and ham.
Ted Cruz is wonderful at reading children's fairy tales on the Senate floor.
Sam, I am.
Rick Santorum spent his time in the Senate a little differently. You want someone to read one hell of a bedtime story? Ted Cruz is your guy. If you want to protect America and defeat ISIS, Rick Santorum's your president, because serious times need serious people.
All right, so that was number one. Number two, we saw a super PAC supporting Ted Cruz hitting the Iowa airwaves with its own negative spot, this one directed at Marco Rubio.
Yeah, I know I have a debate, but I got to get this fantasy football thing right. Okay.
Okay, and now the third and final of this little daisy chain, which is the Rubio Super PAC ad. Guess who it is targeting in its new attack ad? Just out.
Chris Christie, one high-tax, Common Core, liberal, energy-loving, Obamacare, Medicaid-expanding president is enough.
All right, there will be a lot of campaigns and a lot of PACs going up with a lot of paid media in the coming weeks, and that should amount to your classic circular firing squad. So, Mark, let me just ask you what you think these three examples tell us about the carnage to come.
That everybody from the lowest ranking candidates in the polls now to almost everybody at the very top are going to go after each other. I think you're going to see particularly Cruz and Rubio go after each other. You know, there were a few negative ads, comparative ads late in the year. Everybody said after New Year's they'd start. They've started in a vengeance today. They're going to keep going. And I think the key is you've got to be able to have your candidate reinforce the message, and the surrogates, if there are any, reinforce the message of the ad. The ads alone are just going to be too much clutter unless you're also driving that message by the candidates.
Look, your friend Jonathan Martin and mine wrote in the New York Times about this circular firing squad element. The most interesting thing about this, of course, is that all of these guys who are second-tier candidates, not shooting up at the front runner, but shooting around at each other. You know, the question of law of unintended consequences when you get in these situations where everyone's shooting at each other, who hits who mistakenly fires and hits somebody they didn't mean to hit. You know, that's really going to be the big story of the course of the next month, especially if everyone continues to think it's not in their interest in the short term to go after Trump.
Yep. You know, I keep saying Chris Christie's the best brawler in American politics. It's going to be interesting now that Rubio's coming after him. He's been somewhat holding back on Rubio. He's escalated at the end of last year. He's going to come back with a vengeance at Rubio, and it's going to be fascinating to see how Rubio takes a punch.
We only showed a little bit of that Rubio Super PAC ad. It is a laundry list.
There's a couple of them.
It is there are two of them, right? They're the kitchen sink plus the greatest hits album all rolled into one. Everything that Chris Christie is vulnerable on, it's all in those two ads, and we'll see a lot more of it.
He's prepared to respond. He's already started.